Good afternoon and welcome to the week 5 walkthrough video. Week 5 and week 6, we're almost there. So I'm in student view and I'm on the home page. So the three most recent announcements are there. And then we move on into the week 5 overview. If you wanted to look at your accomplishments from weeks 3 and weeks 4, you can do that. Week 3, I finished that up last night because I finished doing all the grading for week 3. Gives a little summary of what you all learned, and then you can actually view your accomplishments. So key terms, sometimes you'll find little comments there for ideas to be successful. And in terms of the discussions, make sure you do your peer responses. So it's just a little sort of overview. The quiz for week 3, average of 92%, good job. And then little feedback on some of the short answer questions. So then we can go back, takes us back to week 3, and then we can actually let's go back to the home page. Now for week 4, it's not quite complete yet because I haven't finished grading everything, which is why there's no access in the student view allowed for me there. So let's continue with week 5. Week 5, we are going to learn about adolescence, the teenage years. We're also going to look at early adulthood or young adulthood, as well as middle adulthood. So we're going to talk about changes that occur during puberty, physical characteristics, milestones, again, reviewing Erikson, Piaget, Kohlberg. And then how do we help keep teachers healthy too, in terms of their development, and then different concerns that might adversely affect adolescent health. Moving into early adulthood, which I'm sure some of you fall into this category, probably most of you. What are the developmental tasks according to Havighurst? So this is a new theorist that we're looking at, in addition to Piaget, Erikson, and Kohlberg. So you want to look through that. What are some health screening tests that are important for people in the early adult stage? And then we'll move on to middle adulthood and different physiological changes that occur. Again, Piaget, Erikson's stages. We'll look a little bit at Kohlberg as well, but we're also going to look at Havighurst developmental stages, and then also retirement, stages of retirement. Who knew that there were stages of retirement according to Atchley? And then health concerns for people in the middle adult stage. So that's going to take us through week 5. You have your assigned reading. And so these links should in fact take you to your textbook, which it looks like they do, which is good. And so it's adolescence, early adulthood, middle adulthood. You'll also in general complete your key terms. So we'll take a look at that. So provide definitions for the following key terms for week 5. And this week, as in week 4, so make sure you read the instructions for this week, use the term in a sentence. You may write a paragraph that incorporates a few or all of the terms. For each term included, you can, in the sentences, you'll receive additional points for that. I do have to fix the rubric on that. I noticed for week 4, I did not have the correct rubric, so I will make sure I have the correct rubric so that people get the extra points, the additional points. So you want to define the terms as well as use them in a sentence. And I'm really impressed. The references, the resources that students are using are great. You're using either the lectures, you're using Overstreet, you're using things from the lessons. And if you are using other sources, they are credible sources. A lot of you are going to the CDC website, which is great. So I'm really glad to see that you're using credible sources. So the paper will be due at the end of the week. I believe I moved it to Sunday as the due date. So I will go through, I have provided video feedback for the body sections 1, 2, 3, and 4. So make sure when you go to the assignment that you click on the video, because that's where I have all the tips and tools and suggestions. And then when you go to submit your final paper, it's actually going to be submitted through Turnitin. So this is the page that you will see. If I try to load it, it's not going to let me because I'm in student view. I don't think it will. Oh yeah, so it can't validate my request. That's okay. But it will, actually I can take it, let's leave student view for a moment. And then it will actually load into a new place. And so once you start to submit your assignments, then they'll show up on my end to grade. And what Turnitin does, it actually helps me to see, to check plagiarism, to see how much people are cutting and pasting or using other people's work. So make sure that you have those references. And the in-text citations, especially. The in-text citations can, you don't have to have one at the end of every sentence. If everything's in the paragraph is from Overstreet, you could put the Overstreet in-text citation at the end of that paragraph. Unless, of course, you're doing a direct quotation, then you would need to have a citation after that. So that covers the basics, the key terms, and the final paper. So then let's move into the lesson and the assignments. So you guys are doing a pretty good job with your templates. So we have the Adolescent Growth and Development template, and it tells you which criteria to include. So make sure when you're talking about cognitive and psychosocial and moral development that you're actually mentioning the Piaget, Erikson, and Kohlberg stage. Most everybody's doing it for moral development, but I'm not seeing as much for cognitive and psychosocial development. For the physical development, now that we're moving where the age, the growth is not as fast as it was in the earlier stages, infant, toddler, preschooler, it's going to be a little more basic for the physical development. And then age appropriate activities, play, social activities, health promotion screening, right? What screenings are available for the particular age group, nutrition. Use your references, your resources for the nutrition to figure out what are specific guidelines for the age groups. Injury prevention, immunizations, and then make sure you have at least 2 references. Can be from the lessons, the books, a credible internet source, something along those lines. And so that is your template. You'll do the same for early adulthood and middle adulthood as well. So going back to, where are we? Adolescents. And then, so let's go into the lesson and take a look, because the assignment should be there as well. You do have a link back to the module. To go back, there's our course learning outcomes, our lesson objectives. There is the PowerPoint, there is your reading, the Bright Futures Nutrition Guide, facts on adolescent vaccines. There's the table there that shows you. A lot of you are going to the CDC vaccine website, which is great. Homeless and houseless are 2 terms that are used interchangeably. They really, the better term is houseless because it means more that there's not like a roof over your head. And there are some people that choose to actually live that way. Will is a surfer, an extreme athlete who, this was a while ago that the article came out, but I thought it was quite interesting to see how he was choosing to live. It was quite interesting. And then there's a TED Talk on gender identity, because identity confusion is one of the stages that adolescents are going through. This can be a time where they are searching to figure out who they are in that context. The other assignment that you have is houseless, the effects of houselessness on the development of the adolescent. And so again, this is sort of a free write, 1-page kind of type thing. And describe one way that cognitive development and one way that psychosocial development could potentially be affected by being homeless as a teenager, What are two things you could do to help a homeless adolescent, taking into account effects of homelessness on development? What are your thoughts on how to solve the homeless crisis? I don't know, there's lots of ideas. It's really a tough topic, but make sure to hit all the key points in your response. There's a video, there's Erickson and Piaget are there for the cognitive development. And then you have the, this is from a previous book in chapter 10, but if you talked about the cognitive developments, the psychosocial development, and then how can you help taking into account development, and then thoughts on solving homelessness on any level is fine. That would be acceptable. All right, and then we will move into early adulthood. So again, you have the early adulthood growth and development template. So that's the same information. And then for, let's look at the early adulthood lesson. Again, there are your objectives. There's your PowerPoint, there's your reading, the template. Here's some supplemental materials. A lot of you are mentioning Daniel Levinson's theory when in your papers, which is really good because it's a really quite interesting theory when you think about it, how people get stages of adulthood. And the assignment for week 5 is early adults and health screening. So taking into account that many of you probably are in the early young adult stage, we're talking about, remember way back to week 1, several weeks ago, right? We talked about health promotion, helping people 2030, primary prevention, like how to keep from getting sick, how to screen to know if you have an illness. And so what we're doing is looking at that in terms of the young adult, early adulthood, which is maybe 18 to 30, depending on the source that you're looking at, could be 18 to 25. Some even have a smaller window of like 18 to 22. But for our thoughts and purposes, 18 to 30 is a good range. And so what you're going to do is provide 3 examples of specific age appropriate health screening for young adults. And you want to make sure that you include services for a variety of gender identities to address the LGBTQ IA community. And then what are 3 barriers that young adults might face that lead them to avoid the health screening or health appointments? So for example, maybe they're supposed to, maybe as a young adult, you should be getting vision screening every few years. So what's a barrier to that? You should be getting annual or every few years health exams, perhaps sexually transmitted infection screening. And then what are barriers? What are reasons why young adults, a 20-year-old might not go to their health appointments or feel that they needed or wanted to have the screening done? And then the third piece is you as a healthcare professional, how can you help a young adult overcome these particular barriers that you mentioned in number 2? And so you want to provide at least one suggestion for each reason that you noted in section 2. So there's a variety of things that could be done. Especially depending on which barriers that you choose. Barriers can be physical, they can be mental, social, access, anything, go back to Healthy People 2030, go back and look at the social determinants of health and see if any of those things could be barriers. And you do have some resources, the health maintenance guidelines for adults, adult health, oh, there we go. Oh, oops, I will go open that page. I'm glad that I did that. Anyway, there is a link to a page that shows you by age what screenings are required or should be done for the person in early adulthood. So I'll make sure, I thought I had copied that over, but I'll make sure that you have resources so that you can see that. And the middle adulthood, again, the middle adulthood growth and development template. Again, the physical development is not going to have as much information. The psychosocial, cognitive thinking, moral development, well, and some of it will be the same for early or middle adulthood. You'd actually probably be looking at adding in a Havinghurst or Peck. You could even put Ashley in there if you wanted. And so we have 2 activities to address middle adulthood. So one that I like to use is a Padlet, and it's called What Do You Think About Retirement? And so if you go to that particular assignment, you're going to a site that's called Padlet. You don't have to join the site. You can go to the link. You can scan the QR code. Let's go to the link and see if it will take me there. Ooh, yes, it did. And so here, this is a sample that I left for you. Here is your prompt. It's kind of like a discussion, but which, by the way, there is no discussion in week 5. And you're going to write about your thoughts and feelings about retirement. So you need to address the 4 questions. Are you looking forward to it or dreading it? So I used to dread it, and I'm looking forward to it, and why. I always put rationales. What do you think about Ashley's stages? You're going to actually have to go back and look at Ashley's stages of retirement. And do you agree with them, or do you think they're out of order, or do you think what makes sense or doesn't make sense? Many of you may not have even thought about retirement yet, so this is a good time to kind of just start thinking about that. And then for the 3rd question, have you seen people go through any of the stages that Ashley talks about? And what do you want to do when you're retired? Have you thought about that? What do you think? What do you think you would like to do? That would be me sitting with my husband out looking at the water, and then probably on that cruise ship, because that would be amazing. And again, this is pretty, this is just bare bones description, but you can, certainly expand, especially on the Ashley's retirement section. Again, this is a sample. Don't reply to me. You don't need to reply to me. If you do reply to me, it doesn't count. And so let's go back to the assignment. It's kind of fun. Oh, I know what I should have done. I showed you how to actually do it for those of you that haven't done it yet. What you can do in order to add your response is see this little plus sign right there, and then you can, it will let you add, let's see, let me get rid of that in case you can see that over there. You can add your subject. Now, if you don't have a Padlet account, then you're going to want to put your name, whatever your name is, and then you can upload something. You can upload a picture. You can actually just write something, my thoughts on whatever, and then you can write in different colors. You could write it in purple, which is kind of cool. You have other options. You can add links. You can put in GIFs. You can take pictures. You can upload. You can search images if you wanted to. It will leave little hot buttons there. And there you go. And then when you're ready to publish, you can publish it. You also have the ability to edit. So if you publish it and you don't like what it says, you can edit it and resubmit it. Yes, I know, I'm going to discard those. There we go. And then when looking at the material here, so you have a refresher for Ashley's stages of retirement, and the link. Hopefully that link works. I always get scared that my links don't work. Yay! And so that talks about Robert Ashley and his stages. And then the due date is the 31st. And then I also wanted to offer to you for the grading, if you include a picture or GIF, something like that. And if you reply to a classmate, there's a comment section where you can leave a comment. You can earn up to 3 bonus points, creativity points, to the 10 points that the assignment is already worth. So I thought I would put that out there for you. It's kind of fun. Students enjoy doing Padlets. And if you have trouble accessing it, let me know if you have questions. Again, we should be able, if you look at my post, if you wanted to comment, you click on the little comment bubble there, and then you add your comment down in this comment box there. So that's the picture that's there. That's what I said. So then you can add your comment. You also have the ability to like something if you want that. And then if you, it just gives you the picture there. And a couple more options there. If you need to edit, whatever. And then to get out of there, you just click the X. So that one's kind of fun. I like doing those. And then going back to the overview, the other thing that you're going to do for middle adulthood is we are talking in middle adulthood about midlife crisis and menopause, some of the changes that our bodies and our minds go through in the different ages. So there are the objectives, there's the PowerPoint, the reading, and I need to add the Padlet there. You have some supplemental material, adult learning theories, and then midlife crisis. So what are some signs? There's an article, there's a couple of websites. The video, please, I encourage you to watch it. It's really an interesting take on what we tend to think of as the definition of midlife crisis versus really what it might actually end up being. So I thought that was a really nice video. Then there's also a little section here on menopause, what it is, treatments, how it's misunderstood or might be misunderstood. So there's some good supplemental information for you. And so then what happens with this assignment, and you can do this in small groups or large groups, you'll see as we go through here. So definitions of midlife crisis, different definitions: emotional turmoil in middle age, characterized especially by a strong desire for change, middle adult years, roughly 35 to 65, period of psychological distress thought to occur in some individuals. Causes may include significant life events and health or occupational problems and concerns, or it could just be something little. According to Pashkow in the video, the definition is a dip in a person's satisfaction with their life and their self-confidence that can occur at or just past the halfway point of life expectancy. Watch the video, and he has an interesting way of explaining that. And so for you all, what do you think a midlife crisis is? Maybe some of you who might be in middle adulthood have experienced one. Whom does it affect, and at what ages? And how is having a midlife crisis portrayed in media, in film, television, right? Because we get a lot of our information, especially now on social media. A lot of people come to their understanding of terms and things and growth and development through what is portrayed in social media and television and film. So what you're asked to do is you can choose to watch any movie or TV show, it could be TV, Netflix, Amazon, and the movies that you feel has a theme about midlife crisis or a particular scene about a midlife crisis or menopause. We're going to include menopause in there with midlife crisis because for many women, menopause is a midlife crisis. And it can be from any time period. The show can be any time period, through present day. And so prior to watching or thinking about what you'd like to watch, answer this question. What comes to mind when you hear the word midlife crisis, right? Include who you think it affects and when, right? So you're just going to do some brainstorming before you even think about what you want to watch or in thinking about a movie. And the second part is watch a movie or show, or if you can think of or have seen the movies on the list that I have here for you, you could potentially just think about a scene or the theme in the movie. You can watch individually, you can watch as a group, you could do it on Zoom, you could get together. It's up to you however you do it, but when you submit the paper, the reflection, it needs to be your own work. And then what you're supposed to do after you've seen or thought about the movie or TV show, you're supposed to reflect on what you've seen, as well as the information in the lesson on middle adulthood, and answer the following questions. So how is midlife crisis characterized in the show or in the particular scene? Do you feel it's an accurate representation? Why or why not? Has studying the information about having a midlife crisis in this course changed your original thoughts about this particular time period in a person's life? What do you think about Pashkow's explanation that we can experience dips in life satisfaction at several points in our lifetime? Do you agree or disagree? Provide a rationale, meaning why or why not? And then how could you present a midlife crisis as an opportunity for a middle-aged adult entering into a dip in their life? What positives perhaps could they get out of that? So according to IMDb, you can actually look up midlife crisis as a keyword for some movies. Again, there are many more movie shows. This is just something to get you started. Many people have seen Thelma and Louise. The Incredibles actually is sort of about midlife crisis, the original one in 2004. So if anybody's seen that, Crazy Stupid Love, Birdman, Lost in Translation, Fried Green Tomatoes is in there, Big Chill, First Wives Club. And then there's also some TV shows, particular episodes, Family Guy, Cheers, The Golden Girls. I love this episode, End of the Curse. It's a really good one. There's Modern Family, Family Ties. There's also some older ones back when I was actually growing up in the 70s. All in the Family, Edith's problem, and she's going through menopause. And The Cosby Show also has Claire going through menopause. That's from 1990. There's also a movie called The 7-Year Itch. It actually stars Marilyn Monroe. It's from 1955. It's called The 7-Year Itch because the gentleman in there's kind of questioning what he, what he should do. Is he's married and he has a child, and and then the neighbor moves in and it's Marilyn Monroe, and he kind of goes all crazy over her. So it's kind of midlife crisis-ish, but it's really quite a clever movie. I like that. Now, if there's maybe one or two movies at the class that you want to watch as a whole, I can rent them. I have Amazon Prime and Netflix. If somebody has Netflix or Prime, I'm really trying not to have people buy something or rent something. That's not the purpose of this, but maybe if you've seen some of these movies or The Incredibles, or you could do a little bit of research on it. The point is to look at media through a different lens, right? Not just for the entertainment piece, but looking at it for its growth and development potential. So that's kind of explains that. There's your lesson objectives. There is the rubric. It's worth 20 points. So the questions are the main point. It's only 2 points really to watch the movie or show. And then 8 points for the pre-reflection, I guess you would call it. And what else? Then let's go back. So these are really meant to be kind of fun. I hope you guys take it that way, another way of learning about some of these developmental stages. And that would be the lesson, the overview, and with your lessons there. So let's look at the module, see if anybody has questions. Make sure I opened the module. Make sure if you're having trouble submitting things for your lifespan development paper that you've actually gone through and completed each mark is done in that module, because that could be a reason why you're not able to submit something. Keep in the back of your mind, your capstone reflection will be coming up, very similar to the midlife crisis watch party. We did go over that at one point. Let me pull that up just to put it in front of you there. So again, thinking of a TV show, movie that actually you're going to look at the whole growth and development across the lifespan process and take what you've learned and apply it to something that everybody knows or is potentially familiar with. And it gives you the guidelines and talks about the development, and then and you have your rubric there. All right, let's go back to the modules, make sure that there in the capstone, and then week 3, week 4, I'll be working on that grading today, and I will try to get to your conclusions and reference lists as soon as I can, today or tomorrow. And then here you go, adolescence, early adulthood, those are the lessons. There is no discussion in week 5. And there you have your key terms. Remember to use them in a sentence as well as define them. Your growth and development template, talking about the effects of houselessness on the development of the adolescent, early growth and development template, early adults and house screening, and then the middle adulthood growth and development template with the watch party and the Padlet for what do you think about retirement. You will also have a quiz, which I'm still working on, but it'll be very similar format to what you've been doing. And then your weekly summary. So once I've finished grading everything from week 4, then I'll put that information into the week 4 summary. And then looking forward to week 6, talking about advanced old age, late adulthood, and then grief, process of dying, and end of life care. There is no discussion for that week. There'll be templates, which actually I believe would just be the late adulthood template. And then there will be a quiz. There's no final exam. The final is your capstone reflection, which is worth 50 points. So please let me know if you have any questions. It is Monday. I will have my virtual office hours tonight. You also are very good at getting a hold of me on Google Chats. So if you haven't tried that and you need me, please try that. I'm pretty accessible. Sometimes it takes me a while to answer back, but I'm usually pretty good about that. Let me get out of the student view here. I will fix those 2 things that I talked about. And then hopefully I'll be seeing you tonight for student hours or hearing from you on the chats. All right. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you.